Alright, we're going to go ahead and check out the rig, sort of go over how to use it and sort of best practices. So for the IKFK, you'll be able to have it on all the arm limb controllers. It'll be here in the channel box. You have all through here. You can select any of the controllers and switch it out to either IK or FK, like so. The only caveat is there is no IK FK match for the rig if you don't have the I believe the Zoom tool set up. So when you download the rig and you're utilizing this rig, the setup will be slightly different. So there won't be an IK FK match. But all your IK FK matching and pole switching and space switching will be in the channel box. Right here you got your IK space switching. Just click on world, or click on I space right here, IK space. You get the parent, you get the world, and you also do the same thing with the FK. If you have the Zool tool set up, you can just simply right click and go to IK FK match, and it will just match at that location. Some other things about the rig: the cog that moves all the waste. There's also a controller where you can move it the same, but just another offset. That controller by default is off, and it's called the cog gimbal lock. You can turn that on and off. By default, that's going to be off. So what this does for me at least is I use this only for my rotation. Anything I want to rotate the whole character doing, I use that controller. This controller I only use for my translation, which is just the main cog. I'll dive into that a little later on exactly why I just use that. But for the head, you also have your space switching. You can go world, you can do the neck, the world, or parent, or next space switching as well. And you got the same options, just got parent and world. Normally I have the head, unless I'm doing like rotations or anything, I have it on the world, and the neck probably the same thing. Or actually the neck, I just leave it parent. So I'm not trying to rotate two different things if I have them rotate slightly and I need to adjust the head or whatever. Alright, let's see what else we got here. So at the very bottom, if you select the controller, you got another offset. You got two offsets really. You got the display offset, which is another controller down here that you can utilize to move. Say you want the character to walk this far, but you don't want to move your base, you can do that and move that around. There's also the root. The root display, which you can also, I have that changed to an arrow just to have a better understanding of it, but this sort of actually moves the cog, which the newer update will eventually have settings so that you can control the root and it doesn't affect your cog when you move it. It's a small preference that I prefer to have. After that, you got your normal setup for your feet. Just like the arms, the IKFK or the channel box, but you also got your classic rolled toes or your toes up, toe slide, bank, all the basics of a foot controller that you would need to utilize. But with the foot controller comes all sorts of foot controls that you could turn on. And let me turn these on. Oops. And here you have all your different controllers for your feet. By default, it is obviously off. And I got some skinning to do on this toe. But there are your feet controllers. And you actually got an extra hip controller right here. So even if you're in the IK, you can sort of manipulate the hip, which comes in handy whenever you need to separately lock out the knee, or just give it a slight type of movement that you need to adjust. And yeah, that is it. Oh, one more thing. Sorry. let's see, on your arms, just to make sure that, yeah, oh, you got the spacing as well on your arms. So you can do the IK or FK world spacing as well, and that's helpful when you rotate the character arms to stay in the same orientation. Alright, so that is that for just utilizing the controller or the character controls itself. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward. If there's anything that you see that hasn't been explained or needs further explanation, just let me know. Alright, now that we went through a quick small briefing of how the rig works, let's further explore the rig, but this time let us sort of build a couple poses with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a few reference photos. I'm going to scour the internet, but more or less I want to basically grab a few action poses, idle poses, get it from various places. One thing I do like to do is I like to get my poses from the books in my other room. But hold on, let me show you. Alright, so I do have, when I'm gathering reference, I do have a set of books from these guys, Master of Anatomy, and one that I have that, let's see, book, oops, Anatomy in Action. So this book comes packed with a lot of different poses that I use on a let's say a daily basis, but just on a small basis where I'll grab poses, pose them out, pose my character out, and this has a bunch of thumbnails of of characters, and mostly in action, but there's also ones with just basic movement looking type of poses where you're standing still and things of that nature. So I scour the internet, get some reference, gather some information, and this is just more or less still getting used to the rig wherever you're at with it, just so you can get a better understanding of it, just so you can pose it in a way that makes sense to you and how you're going to use it. And this just gives you another chance to sort of familiarize yourself with the character, or with the character rig. So what I'm going to do here is just gather up a few random poses. I'm not really trying to define the character yet, trying to find what is the personality of this character or anything. I'm just trying to still get used to what the rig can do, and if it, like I said, sort of works for what I want it to do or how I want it to be posed. And if it doesn't, it's a great opportunity to sort of explore and find out ways so it can work the way I want it to. Alright, so what I want to do now, I'm just going to go ahead and just whip out a couple poses and then go from there. And then after these set of poses, I'm probably going to go ahead and start on a small idle pose that I can work off of for the actual game itself.